Be selfish. Be selfish for the next 3 years.
Dangerous manipulation tactics.
Never, and I mean never, trust the guy who does this.
Everyone warned me about you.
I think you're gonna find you got a lot to give.
What used to be a quiet personal journey, therapy, reflection, maybe journaling in a corner, has now become a genre. It's aesthetic, it's monetized, it's viral. Your pain might be valid, but it's also algorithm friendly. Welcome to pop psychology, where trauma meets trend culture and healing becomes a personal brand trademark. Yes, that trademark is doing a lot of heavy lifting. Let's get one thing straight. We're not here to throw shade at influencers, but we are here to ask, what happens when your therapist is also selling you a 30-day self-care journal? We've spent hours scrolling through Reddit threads, binge-watching healing journey videos, reading self-help books with titles that sound like they came from Pinterest boards, and getting lost in TikToks that tell you your childhood was psychological warfare. Not because we're masochists, but because someone has to say it out loud. What if this whole let's help you heal thing is something else? Something a little more, let's say, strategic? Remember the days when gaslighting was just something you saw in a poorly written thriller? Or when narcissism referred to a Greek myth, not a person in your life? Well, those days are long gone. You've probably noticed the sudden surge in therapy speak. It's everywhere. And that's where the issue begins. What real therapists are calling therapy speak, an updated name for the old concept psychobabble, isn't quite what you think it is. It's the rise of non-professionals, often influencers, who share psychological advice, self-help strategies, and trauma-related content, but without the proper training, ethics, or accountability. Since the pandemic, this phenomenon has been turbocharged. People are spending more time online and growing confident in their self-diagnoses. Professionals are hearing more and more terms that were once only utilized in therapy. These terms are used in ways they weren't originally meant to be used. What once required professional guidance is now a viral trend. Words like gaslighting, narcissism, and boundaries are now part of a new online language, one that's often used incorrectly and sometimes damagingly. Therapy speak is the new lingua franca of the internet, and everyone's fluent. But here's the question: is it actually helping, or is it just a way to sell content? As therapy takes over, let's ask, are you really healing, or are you just helping someone else sell their next 30-day self-care journal? Pause. Let that question sink in. Fake guru. Now let's be real. How many of you have stumbled across someone on social media, maybe with a face full of confidence and a healing journey, hashtag, and thought they've totally got it all figured out? But hold on, have you forgotten to ask, what therapeutic qualifications do they have exactly? Enter the world of therapy speak. It's everywhere now, right? Suddenly you're all experts in gaslighting, narcissism, boundaries, and you've all been trauma bonded. Don't worry, I had to Google that one too. But here's the kicker. These phrases are being tossed around like confetti at a New Year's party, without the qualifications to back them up. Let's take narcissism. On Instagram, it's the magic word for anyone who disagrees with you. You don't like my opinion? Well, clearly you're a narcissist. Case closed. No diagnosis needed, no deeper understanding required. Just call it narcissism and move on with your life. Simple. But is it really that simple? Dr. Susan Albers-Bowling, a real therapist, yes, a real one, not someone who learned all about narcissism from a BuzzFeed quiz, points out that casually labeling someone as a narcissist without actually knowing what it means is not helpful. In fact, it can be pretty harmful. She says, it can be particularly harmful when someone tries to diagnose another person with a mental health condition based on a limited understanding of that condition. Oh, but don't worry, that won't stop you. After all, who needs years of study and experience when you have a Twitter thread and a filter that makes you look like you've read all the self-help books? The thing is, what people casually call self-care is more often an attempt to check off an emotional to-do list without the introspection required for real healing. It's the equivalent of buying a mat and crowning yourself yoga master. Or, I watched one TED Talk on trauma, and now I'm basically licensed to diagnose. Talking about trauma. A few years ago, it was a serious topic discussed in therapy, but now it's as easy to bring up as an emoji. Oh yeah, I'm just dealing with a little trauma from last week's argument. And somehow everyone's okay with that. But trauma isn't a hashtag. It's a serious psychological issue, not something to throw around like any other buzzword. So, if you're all suddenly self-proclaimed experts in mental health, are you actually healing? Or have you gotten really good at creating narratives that sound just deep enough to make you feel better about yourself? You know, like those affirmations you half-heartedly scroll past while sipping your coffee. So, is it working? While you're busy labeling, sharing, and consuming all this self-care content, who's pocketing the profits? Because as you're diving deep into your emotional journey, trying to find peace of mind, someone's definitely rolling in cash. It often begins quietly. you stumble across a vid, a post, a phrase that grazes something tender. Do you feel like you're always the one chasing in relationships? You pause. It hits a nerve. You keep scrolling. Suddenly, your feed becomes an emergency room. Everyone's diagnosing. Everyone's healing. You're fed new vocabulary, anxious attachment, nervous system regulation, core wounds. You've never felt so seen or so subtly sold to. You click the bio. There it is. A link. You follow it like a breadcrumb trail left by a soft-voiced algorithm. At the end, a masterclass, a workbook, a $97 course that promises to reprogram your subconscious. It's a neat little formula, pain to package to profit, and it's working because in the golden age of digital healing, your suffering has a market value. Courses, consultations, journals, planners, inner child retreats, monthly memberships, trauma-informed affirmation decks. Yes, apparently your trauma also needs a subscription. Dr. Lucy Falks said it best. There's a growing tendency to label distress as disorder, and a growing market eager to monetize that label. And this isn't small change. It's an empire built on the emotional equivalent of late-night infomercials, except instead of promising better abs, it's inner peace in 6 steps or less. The issue isn't that people are helping, it's that help has a price tag, a color palette, and an SEO strategy. It's healing, but make it aesthetic. Meanwhile, what you're actually buying is often a feeling of progress, like buying gym clothes and convincing yourself you've exercised. Click, download, heal. You've gone from pain to personality type, from discomfort to digital funnel, from I feel lost to I'm an anxious, preoccupied Enneagram 4 with unresolved maternal imprints and a subscription to the Inner Glow newsletter. And while you're doing all this self-work, the self-help economy is doing just fine. But here's the catch. While the receipts pile up, something else quietly empties. Not just your wallet, but your sense of self. Because when every scroll tells you you're broken, when every solution is a product, when every feeling has a label and a landing page, you start to ponder, is this healing or just a well-lit loop? At first, people seek clarity. Words to describe what they've been carrying for years. Terms like attachment styles, trauma responses, nervous system regulation start appearing not just in therapy offices, but in everyday conversations. Social media has made psychological language more accessible than ever. It's common now to hear someone describe themselves as avoidant, anxious, preoccupied, or triggered. For many, it's empowering. A way to name difficult experiences and feel less alone. A way for people to relate to each other in everyday situations. A date didn't go well? He had unresolved trauma. Feeling tired? It's burnout from emotional labor. These phrases can be helpful shorthand, but sometimes they oversimplify. When everything becomes a potential diagnosis, nuance gets lost. As one therapist noted, it's like trying to help someone unpack a suitcase they've already sealed, shut, and labeled. Clients are arriving at sessions already identifying with labels. They come with self-diagnoses shaped by online content, and sometimes these preconceptions can make the therapeutic process more complicated, especially when trust and openness are key. When someone believes they've already figured themselves out, it can be harder to explore what's actually going on beneath the surface. Not every behavior needs a psychological label. This over-labeling can impact how you communicate. It may cause misunderstandings, distance, or even self-isolation, not because people don't care, but because they feel overwhelmed by how to properly interact or speak about emotions. It's not about blaming individuals. It's about recognizing the broader shift in how mental health is being discussed, and how that shift, while well-intentioned, might also bring new challenges. Pause and ask, when did every struggle become a syndrome? In trying to name everything, am I losing the quiet, messy parts that can't be named, but still need care? There are ways forward, but maybe the first move is stepping back. I know therapy sessions aren't always accessible to everyone. Financial barriers, limited availability, or simply the fear of facing what's buried inside. These realities keep many from seeking professional help. But there's another route, one that can still lead you toward genuine growth. Find a trusted therapist, one with real qualifications who offers unpopular psychology. In a world full of influencers, it's crucial to check the credibility of the person you're following. You wouldn't trust a random person off the street to diagnose a physical illness, so why trust someone who's never been trained to diagnose a mental one? The same standard should apply. There are therapists online who truly value the work they do and provide real, nuanced insight. These are the voices you want to listen to. People like Dr. Alexandra Solomon or Dr. Nicole LePera, whose work is grounded in science and compassion, not a sales funnel. Remember this. No diagnosis should be made without a professional's guidance. Just as you wouldn't attempt to self-diagnose a physical issue, the same must be applied with mental health. Imagine it this way. You wouldn't diagnose yourself with pneumonia because of a cough. You'd go to a doctor who would listen, assess, diagnose, and help you make sense of what's going on. Mental health isn't any different. You deserve more than just a diagnosis. You deserve someone who helps you understand what's actually happening beneath the surface. Someone who doesn't treat your healing as a transaction. Trauma, trend, transaction. What if every healing follow is just a silent nod of trust to someone unqualified? What if your comfort in their curated tears is simply another funnel? Think about it. Are you scrolling for support or being sold to? And if something about your feed feels hollow, maybe that's your gut. Maybe you're finally seeing through it. If you are, perhaps you'll want to learn what else I'm uncovering. You already know where to find me if you're still choosing freely.